the Alpha King's breeder too. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting a silver glow over the kingdom that Ava now called home. At Lucian's side, she had found a love deeper than she had ever known, a future she had never dared to hope for. But beneath the surface of their happiness, shadows from her past still loomed. Her mother remained trapped in the ruinous grip of her father, Alpha Gregor, and the suffering of the Shadowfang pack weighed heavily on her heart. Lucian, ever perceptive, noticed the shift in Ava's demeanor. She had been quiet the past few nights, her thoughts elsewhere even when they lay together. She would lay awake long after he had wrapped his arms around her breathing, steady but distant as if her mind was far away. A faint nausea lingered in her stomach, a reminder of the changes within her. Her body felt different, warmer, more sensitive, her breasts heavier than before. It was a small but constant reminder that she was carrying a new life. And with that life came a whirlwind of emotions. Uncertainty gnawed at her, whispering insecurities she struggled to silence. Could she truly be safe? Would she ever feel completely at home as Luna? Though Lucian had promised her the world, old wounds did not heal overnight. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her chest, and even surrounded by love, the ghosts of her past lurked in the corners of her mind. Doubt and fear crept into her thoughts, whispering insecurities she struggled to silence. Was she truly safe? Would she ever fully belong as Luna? Lucian reached for her hand, gently intertwining his fingers with hers. "Ava, tell me what's troubling you," he murmured, searching her eyes with concern, knowing she was battling demons he could not yet see. "Ava, tell me what's troubling you," he murmured, searching her eyes with concern. She hesitated for a moment before sighing. "I can't stop thinking about my mother, about the Shadowfang pack. I feel like I abandoned them when I was sold and left. They are suffering under my father's rule, and I can't bear it anymore." Lucian's gaze darkened. He knew all too well the kind of leader Gregor was. "You have not abandoned them, Ava. Your father is the one who failed them. But if this is something you need to do, then we will go together." She looked up at him, surprised. "You'd do that?" He cupped her face in his hand, his thumb stroking her cheek. "For you, I would do anything. And bringing your mother back here means she can help you with the pup as well." Ava exhaled, relief washing over her. She knew this would not be easy, but with Lucian at her side, she would no longer be facing it alone. Instinctively, her hand drifted to her belly, a protective gesture she barely noticed. A new life was growing inside her, fragile yet strong, and with it, her determination solidified. This wasn't just about her anymore. She was fighting for their child's future, a future where they would never know the kind of suffering she had endured. She would not rest until they were free. Ava and Lucian rode at the head of their convoy, the chilling wind carrying the scent of despair as they neared the Shadowfang pack's borders. The lands that once flourished now lay in utter ruin. What were once lush fields had turned to barren stretches of cracked earth, the once prosperous mines reduced to dark, skeletal remains of industry long abandoned. The smell of rot and decay lingered in the air, mixing with the acrid stench of unwashed bodies. As they rode deeper into the territory, Ava's chest tightened. Her people, what remained of them, were barely more than walking corpses. Hollow-eyed children clung to their gaunt mothers, their ribs protruding through thin, ragged clothing. Warriors, once strong and proud, sat slumped against crumbling buildings, their once mighty frames wasted away from starvation. She swallowed hard, shame and guilt clawing at her heart. This is what I left behind. This is what I escaped while they suffered. Inside the decrepit village, whispers spread as the pack members saw their former princess return. This time, not as a victim, but as the Luna of the most powerful Alpha King. But Ava could see the doubt in their eyes, the unspoken resentment. To them, she was a ghost of the past, a reminder of what they had lost. "I should have done something sooner," Ava thought bitterly. "I should have come back for them. But I was too afraid, too lost in my own pain." She clenched her fists around the reins of her horse, determination rising through the grief. "I will not abandon them again." Gregor sat on his ragged throne, his once commanding presence diminished by years of unchecked greed and neglect. His eyes burned with rage at the sight of Lucian and Ava standing before him, their unity a direct insult to his rule. "What are you doing here?" Gregor spat, his gaze locking onto Ava. "You could not please the Alpha King?" "I came to get my mother and free the pack from your wrath," Ava replied, her voice steady, no longer the frightened girl he had once used as a bargaining chip. "You abandoned this pack long before I ever left. I will not stand by while my people suffer." Lucian's patience was thin. "You have lost your right to rule," he declared, stepping forward with deadly intent. "I challenge you, Gregor, for this pack, for its future." The battle erupted in a whirlwind of savage blows and feral snarls. Gregor lunged first, his claws aiming for Lucian's throat, but the Alpha King sidestepped with lethal grace, countering with a brutal punch that sent Gregor staggering. Blood dripped from his lip, yet he growled and charged again, his movements sluggish but desperate. Lucian was relentless. He dodged another feeble strike before seizing Gregor by the throat, slamming him against the decaying remnants of his throne. "You were never fit to lead," Lucian growled, his amber eyes glowing with unrestrained fury. Gregor wheezed, clawing at Lucian's iron grip, but his strength had long since withered. With a violent yank, Lucian threw Gregor to the ground. The once feared tyrant gasped, rolling onto his hands and knees, struggling to rise. Ava stood frozen, watching the father who had tormented her, now reduced to nothing more than a battered shadow of his former self. A part of her had once feared him. Now, all she felt was disgust. Lucian gave him no chance for redemption. With one final strike, a bone-crunching blow to the chest, Gregor crumpled, his body heaving with ragged breaths. The once mighty Alpha lay broken at Lucian's feet. His rule ended, his legacy, one of failure. Lucian turned to Magnus, his voice unwavering. "Find this pack a leader worthy of its people, one who will restore what Gregor destroyed." With her mother finally freed, Ava led her to safety. For the first time in years, her mother stood tall, no longer a prisoner in her own home. As they returned to the castle, Ava led her mother through its grand corridors, settling her in one of the finest rooms. She ensured the chamber was warm, the bedding soft, and the scent of fresh lavender filled the air. Her mother ran her fingers over the luxurious fabric of the blankets, her lips trembling as she took in the space that was now hers. Tears welled in her eyes as she turned to Ava, her voice shaking. "I never thought I'd be free of him," she whispered. "After all these years, to be here, safe, with you, it's more than I ever dreamed." Ava swallowed the lump in her throat, brushing a stray curl from her mother's face. "You're free now, Mother. No one will ever hurt you again." Her mother let out a choked sob and pulled Ava into a tight embrace, years of pain and suffering pouring out in quiet, happy tears. Ava held her, realizing in that moment that for the first time in her life, they were both truly free. That evening, as the castle settled into a quiet lull, Ava found herself in Lucian's arms, her heart swelling with emotions too big to contain. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "For everything, for saving my mother, for giving these people hope, for giving me a home." Lucian traced his fingers along her jawline, his amber eyes dark with warmth. "You were always meant to have a home, Ava. With me." She let out a soft, contented sigh as he pressed his lips against hers, slow and deliberate, as if savoring every second. The warmth of his body surrounded her, the faint crackle of the fireplace casting a golden glow around them. She melted into his embrace, the world outside their chambers forgotten as his hands roamed her back, grounding her in the moment. The scent of cedar and wild musk, uniquely his, filled her senses, a reminder of the strength and security he gave her. Lucian pulled away just enough to rest his forehead against hers, his breath warm against her lips. "You are my heart, Ava," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "My love, my home, my everything." Ava's fingers traced the hard planes of his chest, her heart swelling. "And you are mine," she whispered, letting herself fall deeper into the passion between them, where no shadows from the past could reach her. The tension that had weighed on her shoulders melted as he lifted her effortlessly, carrying her to their bed where he worshipped her with whispered words and tender touches. Wrapped in his embrace, she felt a different kind of freedom. The freedom to love without fear, to be cherished without condition. And as the night passed in a haze of passion and devotion, Ava knew she had found not only her place in the world, but her heart's truest home in Lucien. The next morning, after a tour of the castle, they ventured into the gardens. Though still majestic, the palace grounds had been neglected, the once thriving flower beds overgrown with weeds. Ava, eager to create something beautiful, insisted they tend to the gardens. Lucien, watching her kneeling in the soil, could not help but admire her. She was not a Luna who simply sat on a throne. She worked alongside her people, shaping the world around her with her own hands. But even within Lucien's castle, Ava was not free from opposition. Some of the higher-ranking females sneered behind her back, whispering that she was unworthy of the Luna title. One afternoon, as Ava walked through the courtyard, she overheard them, Irene and two others, their voices dripping with contempt. "She doesn't belong here," Irene scoffed, folding her arms as Ava passed. "A breeder turned Luna? How pitiful. The Alpha King must have gone soft." Ava halted in her tracks, turning to face them. Her heart pounded, but she refused to let them see weakness. "Say what you will about me," she said evenly, her voice laced with quiet strength. "But I will not stand by while you undermine my place in this pack. I am Lucien's mate, and I am your Luna, whether you like it or not, and you are committing treason." The courtyard fell silent. Irene's smirk faltered, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. Without another word, she turned on her heel and walked away, her companions trailing behind her. Ava exhaled, steadying herself. She knew she still had battles ahead, but she had taken the first step in proving she was no longer a victim. She was a Luna, worthy of her title. She did her best to ignore them, throwing herself into her work for the pack, but their jeers still found a way to wound her. As she moved through the castle, she noticed how her clothes were fitting differently, her dresses tightening slightly around her chest, her movements slower as her body adjusted to the changes. Her breasts felt tender and fatigue crept up on her more easily than before. It was a strange, beautiful reminder of the life growing inside her, a transformation she both embraced and struggled to adjust to. "I will not be weak anymore," she told Lucien one evening. "I want to train. I want to fight." Lucien hesitated, his jaw tightening as he exhaled slowly. "Ava, you are pregnant. I cannot allow you to put yourself at risk." Ava reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "I understand why you're worried, Lucien, but I need to do this. I don't want to live in fear, relying on you to protect me all the time. What if one day you're not there? What if—" "Don't say that," he growled, cutting her off. His fingers tightened around hers, his amber eyes dark with emotion. "I will always be there." She met his gaze, sadness flickering behind her strength. "But I don't feel safe, Lucien. Not fully. There are still those who look at me as if I don't belong, and there will always be threats. I don't want to be defenseless. I want to be strong. For myself. For our child." Her words sent a pang through his chest. The fact that she did not feel safe in the home he had built for her filled him with guilt. He had vowed to protect her, and yet she still felt vulnerable. Lucien exhaled sharply, running a hand through his dark hair before nodding. "Then I will train you myself. But you must promise me, Ava. No reckless risks." Ava smiled softly, leaning up to press a kiss to his lips. "I promise." Lucien pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. If this was what she needed to feel safe, then he would give it to her, no matter how much it terrified him. Through rigorous training, Ava pushed herself, her body growing stronger, her reflexes sharper. Each day, she felt more capable, more in control of her own fate. She would never be a helpless pawn again. Every strike, every defensive move Lucien taught her was another barrier between her and the threats lurking in the shadows. But even as she found strength, the whispers of doubt spread like wildfire. Some of Lucian's advisors, those who had once feared and revered him, began to question whether their Alpha King had grown weak. They saw his devotion to Ava as a liability, a distraction that dulled the ruthlessness they believed a ruler needed. And weakness, in the world of wolves, was a dangerous thing. Ava noticed the sidelong glances in court, the way conversations hushed when she entered a room. No matter how much she trained, or how deeply Lucian loved her, there were those who would never fully accept her. But she would not let their judgment shake her. She was beginning to feel at home in her new role, to embrace the life she had fought for. But danger lurked in the shadows, and this time, it was far more personal. News of her pregnancy had reached Gregor in exile, and the moment he learned that his daughter carried the Alpha King's heir, his desperation turned into a sinister plot. If he could no longer rule the Shadowfang pack, he would take something far more precious, his daughter and the child growing inside her. He would have his revenge no matter the cost. To bring unity to his people, Lucian arranged the Spring Festival, a night of celebration and renewal. The castle grounds were transformed, torches flickering, music filling the air. After years of war, tyranny, and fear under Gregor's rule, the pack needed this moment of joy, a night where laughter could replace sorrow. The once weary wolves embraced the festivities with renewed spirits, their burdens momentarily lifted. Pack members danced in the moonlight, children played freely in the open courtyards, and for the first time in years a sense of hope filled the air. Laughter echoed across the grounds, voices filled with joy rather than sorrow. Wolves who had once only known battle and hardship now embraced one another, sharing stories of past struggles and dreams of a future no longer ruled by fear. An elderly pack member approached Ava, his wrinkled hands trembling as he bowed his head. "My Luna, I never thought I'd see this day," he murmured, eyes glistening. "We have lived under darkness for so long, but tonight, you and the Alpha King have given us light." Ava placed her hand over his, her heart swelling with emotion. "This is only the beginning." Nearby, a young warrior clapped Magnus on the back. "I've never seen the Alpha King look this at peace," he admitted, watching Lucian and Ava sway together in the glow of the torches. "Perhaps love hasn't weakened him, perhaps it has made him stronger." Magnus smirked, raising his goblet. "Then let us drink to that. Strength, love, and a future worth fighting for." A chorus of cheers rose into the night, the pack coming together as one, their faith in their rulers and in each other fully restored. Tables were laden with fresh food, a sight that had been rare for too long. Warriors, who had only known the battlefield, raised their goblets in cheer, reveling in the warmth of peace. As Ava watched, she felt tears prickle at the corners of her eyes. This was more than a celebration. It was the beginning of something new, a future where suffering no longer defined them. Lucian, sensing the emotion in her gaze, pulled her into his arms, swaying her gently to the rhythm of the music. "I love you," Ava whispered as they danced, her hands resting over the life they had created together. Lucian leaned down, pressing a kiss to her temple. "And I will protect you, always." But even the most powerful Alpha could not stop what came next. Under the cover of the festival, Gregor's men struck. The last thing Ava saw before darkness claimed her was Lucian's frantic gaze, searching for her amidst the chaos. Lucian's rage was unlike anything his kingdom had ever seen. He tore through villages, interrogating anyone who might have seen a trace of her, his fury leaving no stone unturned. His warriors worked tirelessly, hunting for leads, but every path they followed ended in frustration. The entire kingdom trembled under the weight of his wrath, knowing that their Alpha King would not stop until his mate was found. Magnus rode up beside him, his expression grim. "Lucian, we've checked every border, every stronghold. It's as if she vanished. But we won't stop." Lucian's hands tightened around his reins, his jaw clenched with barely contained fury. "She is out there, Magnus. I can feel it, and I will burn this entire land to the ground if I must to get her back." His mind flashed to the nights they had spent wrapped in each other's arms, the warmth of her body against his, the way she looked at him like he was her entire world. He thought of her laughter, the softness in her voice when she spoke of their child, of the life they had yet to build. The idea of never hearing that laughter again, of never seeing her radiant smile, was unbearable. His grip tightened further, his claws extending slightly as his wolf pushed to the surface, demanding action, demanding blood. Ava was his, and he would not rest until she was back in his arms. Just then a scout rode in, breathless, a sealed parchment in his trembling hands. "My king, a message arrived." Lucian ripped it open, his eyes scanning the words, his entire body going rigid. "Give me back my pack or you will never see your mate again." A dangerous growl rumbled from deep within his chest, the paper crumpling in his grasp. His amber eyes darkened, glowing with unrestrained fury. Magnus read over his shoulder, his own face hardening. "It's him." Lucian's voice was deadly calm, yet it carried the force of a storm about to break. "He will regret ever touching her." Lucian tracked Gregor to an abandoned fortress deep in the mountains, his senses sharpening as the scent of Ava's blood mingled with the damp air. His muscles tensed, his wolf snarling within him, demanding vengeance. Every breath he took was laced with rage, his vision clouded with red. He had failed to protect her, had allowed her to be taken from his grasp, and now he would make sure Gregor paid in blood. His fingers curled into fists as he crouched low, listening. The fortress was eerily silent, the only sound the distant drip of water echoing through the stone corridors. The air was thick with the scent of old death and decay, but under it, Ava's scent was unmistakable, faint. But there, she was here, hurt, but alive. Lucian's thoughts turned to her, her smile, her laughter, the way she had trusted him to always be her shield. He had sworn to protect her, to never let harm come to her, and yet she had suffered in Gregor's grasp. The fury inside him boiled over. He would burn this entire place to the ground if it meant getting her back. He was done playing games. He stormed through the fortress, his claws slashing through Gregor's men like a vengeful beast, leaving destruction in his wake. The walls shook with the sounds of brutal combat, pained cries echoing through the chambers as Lucian carved a path straight to the heart of the fortress. He found her there, bound, bruised, but still defiant. As soon as their eyes met, something inside Lucian shattered. Gone was the control he always wielded so carefully. This was not a battle of kingdoms anymore. This was personal. Gregor stepped between them, a smug smirk curling his lips. "You came all this way for her? A foolish mistake. I should have broken her long ago." Lucian's vision blurred with rage. "You will never lay another hand on her." Gregor lunged, but Lucian was faster, his instincts honed by years of battle. He blocked the attack with a vicious swipe, his claws tearing through Gregor's side. The older alpha howled in pain but fought back desperately, clawing and striking wildly. But he was no match for Lucian's sheer strength and fury. The fight was brutal but brief. Lucian's final blow sent Gregor crashing to the floor, blood pooling beneath him. He gasped, realization dawning in his fading eyes. You think you've won?" Lucian stood over him, his voice low and merciless. "No. I've simply ensured you'll never hurt her again." With one final bone-shattering strike, Gregor's reign ended in a pool of his own blood. Lucian turned to Ava, his chest heaving. He rushed to her side, cutting through her restraints, his hands shaking as he cupped her face. "Ava, love, look at me," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. She let out a shuddering breath, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "You came for me. Always." He pressed desperate kisses to her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, reassuring himself she was real, that she was still his. As they returned to the kingdom, their people gathered to greet them, bowing low in respect. No one questioned Ava's place at Lucian's side now. She was not just his Luna, she was his equal, his mate, and the future mother of his heir. As they entered the castle, Ava's heart pounded in anticipation. The moment her mother saw her, she rushed forward, pulling Ava into a tight embrace. "My child, I feared the worst," her mother whispered, tears slipping onto Ava's shoulder. I thought I'd lost you forever. Ava closed her eyes, holding her mother just as tightly. He's gone, Mother. He can never hurt us again. She pulled back, cupping her mother's face with trembling hands. We are truly free. Her mother let out a choked sob, pressing a hand over her mouth. You have given us all a new beginning, Ava. And now, you must focus on your own. Lucian stepped forward, then wrapping an arm around Ava's waist. She is home, and she is safe. That is all that matters. As they walked through the castle halls, Lucian suddenly stopped, a playful glint in his amber eyes. There's something we've been working on for you, he murmured, taking her hand and leading her through a set of double doors. Ava gasped as she stepped into the wintergreen house, now fully restored. The shattered glass panels had been repaired, allowing moonlight to spill into the space, illuminating the vibrant, snow-kissed greenery within. Rows of evergreen plants thrived under the protective glass, their rich, earthy scent mixing with the crisp winter air. In the center, beneath a canopy of frost-kissed vines, sat a beautiful wooden rocking chair, crafted with care and positioned perfectly to overlook the serene landscape beyond. Her mother stepped beside her, her eyes shining with warmth. We wanted you to have a place of peace, especially now before the baby comes, she said softly, squeezing Ava's hand. Tears welled in Ava's eyes as she turned to Lucian. You did this for me. Lucian wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pressing a tender kiss to her temple. You deserve a place to rest, to feel safe. This is our home, Ava, and I will make sure it's everything you ever dreamed of. Ava ran her fingers along the curved wood of the rocking chair, already imagining the nights she would spend here, cradling their child, surrounded by the love she had once thought impossible. She turned back to Lucian, her heart overflowing. It's perfect, thank you. He smiled, drawing her into his embrace. Anything for my Luna. That evening, as the weight of the past days melted away, Ava found herself back in their chambers, the flickering fire casting a soft glow around the room. She turned to Lucian, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. I still don't know how to thank you for everything, for saving me, for saving my mother, for bringing hope back to our people. Lucian stepped closer, his gaze filled with nothing but devotion. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch lingering. You never need to thank me, Ava. You are my mate, my Luna. I would burn the world for you. She let out a soft, breathless laugh, leaning into his touch. I know. Lucian swept her into his arms effortlessly, carrying her to their bed as if she weighed nothing. As he held her close, Ava's breath hitched, her heart pounding against his chest. She curled her fingers into his shirt, a soft sigh escaping her lips. You always make me feel safe, she murmured, pressing her forehead to his. Lucian tightened his grip, his amber eyes darkening with emotion. And I always will, my love. Forever. He laid her down gently, his lips brushing against her forehead, a promise of unending love. Rest, my love. Our future begins now. But Ava didn't want to sleep. Not yet. She reached for him, her fingers trailing along his jaw, down his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heart beneath her touch. Our child will grow in a world free of cruelty. We will protect them together. Lucian pressed a lingering kiss to her temple, his lips soft but firm, and then he worshipped her, his lips tracing a slow path down her neck, his hands reverent as they explored every inch of her body, as if committing her to memory. He paused, his touch lingering on the gentle swell of her belly, his gaze dark with awe and tenderness. You're changing, he murmured, his voice filled with reverence. Becoming even more beautiful. Ava let out a soft breath, her fingers brushing over his as they rested against her abdomen. I feel different every day, she whispered. Softer, fuller. Carrying our child is changing me. Lucian's grip tightened ever so slightly, his eyes flickering with something raw and possessive. And I love every part of it, he admitted, his voice husky. Every curve, every change. You're perfect, Ava. You always have been. Their breaths mingled, the crackling fire casting flickering shadows that danced across their entwined bodies. Ava melted into his touch, surrendering to the love between them. A love that burned fiercely, unbreakable, and eternal. Lucian's every movement spoke of devotion, of the sheer relief of having her safe in his arms. "You are mine, Ava," he whispered against her lips, his voice thick with raw emotion. "And I will love you until my last breath." Ava's heart swelled at his words, a reminder of how far she had come. She thought of the scared, broken girl she once was, the girl who had been sold, who had believed she was nothing more than a pawn in someone else's game. But now, she was stronger. She had fought for her place, for her happiness, for the life growing inside her. She was no longer just surviving. She was thriving, and it was because of him. She arched into him, her fingers threading through his dark hair, pulling him closer. "And you are mine, Lucian," she whispered back, her voice a vow of its own. "Always." She arched into him, her fingers threading through his dark hair, pulling him closer. "And you are mine, Lucian," she whispered back, her voice a vow of its own. "Always." Their bodies moved together in perfect harmony, a rhythm as old as time, each touch igniting flames that only they could quench. As the night stretched on, they loved each other with a depth that words could never capture, their bond deepening with every whispered promise and every lingering kiss. Afterward, Lucian pulled her into his embrace, their bodies tangled beneath the soft sheets. Ava rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady, reassuring rhythm of his heart. A soft, contented smile graced her lips as she felt the warmth of his hand protectively covering her growing belly. "Our child will be safe, Lucian," she murmured sleepily, her fingers tracing idle patterns against his skin. "They will know nothing but love." Lucian pressed a kiss to her forehead, his voice filled with quiet determination. "With you as their mother, they will grow strong. And with me, they will never know fear." As Ava drifted into peaceful sleep in Lucian's arms, she knew with absolute certainty that she had found her forever home. And in that moment, wrapped in the embrace of the man who had fought for her, loved her, and chosen her, she had never felt safer. And together they would rule, with love, with strength, and with an unbreakable bond that would shape the future.